What I'm going to walk you through is a system built around one uncomfortable truth. You don't actually know what your life costs. Not approximately, not roughly. You genuinely don't know. And until you do, every financial decision you make is based on a feeling rather than a fact. Feelings are terrible financial advisors. Let me explain what I mean by not knowing what your life costs. Because most people think they do. Ask someone what they spend per month, and they'll give you a number. Usually it's their rent, plus a rough estimate of everything else. But that rough estimate is almost always wrong, and it's wrong in a specific direction. People consistently underestimate their spending by 20 to 40%. There's research from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that confirms this. When you compare what people say they spend to what bank records show they actually spend, the gap is enormous. This isn't lying. It's a cognitive bias called the ostrich effect combined with something psychologists call motivated reasoning. Your brain genuinely doesn't want you to know the real number because the real number might require you to change your behavior. So it helps you forget the small purchases, round down on the medium ones, and mentally exclude the large ones by categorizing them as unusual or one-time expenses. That dinner was a special occasion. That online order was something you needed. That subscription you forgot to cancel doesn't really count because you meant to cancel it. Your brain is an incredibly creative accountant when it comes to protecting you from financial discomfort. This is why the first step in any functional money system isn't setting goals or creating categories or downloading software. It's doing an honest audit of your last 90 days, not your last month, because any single month can be unusual. 3 months gives you a real average. Pull your bank statements, pull your credit card statements, add up every single dollar that left your accounts for any reason. Don't categorize yet. Don't judge. Just get the total number. This number is what your life actually costs right now, today, with your current habits and choices. For most people, this number is genuinely shocking. Not slightly higher than expected. Dramatically higher. The shock is the point. That gap between what you thought you were spending and what you're actually spending is where all your financial progress has been leaking away. Once you have that number, something interesting happens in your brain. You can't unsee it. The vague optimism that everything is probably fine gets replaced by a specific, concrete understanding of reality. And specific problems are solvable in ways that vague anxiety never is. Now here's where most advice goes wrong. They tell you to respond to this information by cutting expenses. Stop buying coffee. Cancel your subscriptions. Eat rice and beans. This austerity approach fails almost universally, and it fails for the same reason. Crash diets fail. Extreme restriction triggers a psychological backlash. You feel deprived, you eventually snap, and the resulting spending binge is often worse than what you were doing before. The restrict and binge cycle with money works identically to the restrict and binge cycle with food. Your brain experiences financial deprivation the same way it experiences caloric deprivation, as a threat. Instead of cutting, you need to design. Think of your money like water flowing through a system of pipes. Right now, the water goes wherever gravity takes it. Into convenience, into habit, into whatever Amazon recommends. At 11 p.m. when your willpower is depleted. Designing your system means building the pipes before the water flows, so it goes where you actually want it to go. Here's the practical structure. On the day your paycheck arrives, before you spend a single dollar on anything discretionary, your money should move automatically into designated accounts. This happens through automatic transfers that you set up once. One transfer goes to a bills account. This is a separate checking account that exists solely to pay your fixed monthly obligations. Rent, utilities, insurance, phone, minimum debt payments. You calculate what these cost per month, add a small cushion, and that amount transfers automatically on payday. You never touch this account. It just pays bills. One transfer goes to a future account. This could be a high-yield savings account, an investment account, or both. In 2026, high-yield savings accounts are still paying between 4 and 5%, which means your parked cash is actually working while it sits there. This transfer represents your financial progress. Whatever's left stays in your primary checking account. This is your spending money. You're guilt-free, no tracking required. Do whatever you want money. Coffee, restaurants, clothes, entertainment, random purchases. All of it comes from this account, and as long as you don't overdraw it, you never need to feel bad about any individual purchase. This is the critical psychological innovation that most budgeting systems miss. By separating the money before you can spend it, you eliminate the need for willpower in the moment of purchase. The bills are already covered. The savings already happened. Whatever's in your spending account is genuinely available. You don't need to calculate whether you can afford something. If the money is there, you can afford it. If it's not, you can't. No guilt. No math. No app. No app. The first few months require some calibration. You might set your spending account too low and run out before the next paycheck. That's data, not failure. It means you need to adjust, either by reducing what goes to the future account temporarily, or by finding fixed expenses you can lower. You might set it too high and end up with surplus in your spending account. That's also data. It means you can increase your automatic transfer to savings. The system self-corrects through experience rather than prediction. There's something else happening here that most people don't notice at first. This structure changes your relationship with spending decisions in a fundamental way. When your bills and savings are handled automatically, spending stops being a moral issue. You're not a good person for skipping the latte or a bad person for ordering takeout. You've already done the responsible thing. The money moved before you woke up that morning. What you do with the remaining money is genuinely your choice, free from the weight of financial anxiety. This emotional freedom is not a side effect. It's the entire point. Financial stress doesn't come from spending. It comes from uncertainty, from not knowing whether the spending you're doing is sustainable. When the system handles sustainability automatically, the stress disappears even if your spending habits don't change dramatically. Now let's talk about the part most people want to skip. Debt. If you're carrying high-interest debt, particularly credit card debt, your system needs a modification. Before your future account gets its full allocation, a portion of that money should be directed aggressively at your highest interest balance. The math here is unforgiving. Credit card interest in 2026 averages around 22%. No savings account, no investment, no side hustle reliably returns 22%. Every dollar sitting in savings while you carry. Credit card debt is losing money in net terms. Pay off the expensive debt first. Everything else becomes easier after that. For people with multiple debts, there are two schools of thought. The mathematically optimal approach says pay the highest interest rate first regardless of balance size. The psychologically optimal approach says pay the smallest balance first regardless of interest rate, because eliminating an entire debt creates momentum and motivation. Honestly, either works. The difference in total interest paid is usually smaller than people think, and the approach you'll actually stick with beats the theoretically optimal approach you abandon after 2 months. Pick whichever feels more motivating and commit to it. Let me talk about a dimension of personal finance that gets almost no attention. The social pressure component. A significant portion of overspending isn't driven by personal desire. It's driven by social expectation. The dinner at the expensive restaurant, because that's where the group chose. The wedding gift that costs more than you're comfortable with. The vacation you can't really afford, but said yes to because everyone else was going. The upgraded apartment because your friends would think your old one was depressing. These social expenditures are some of the hardest to control because they're tangled up with identity, belonging, and self-worth. Saying no to them feels like saying no to relationships. And humans are wired to prioritize social connection over financial optimization. There's no clean solution here, but there is a useful reframe. Being honest about your financial boundaries isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign of maturity. The people worth keeping in your life will respect it. The ones who don't were never worth the expense in the first place. And the reality is that most people in your social circle are quietly struggling with the same pressures. Someone has to go first in being honest about it. Another angle that rarely gets discussed is the relationship between financial clarity and career decisions. When you don't know what your life costs, you can't accurately evaluate job opportunities, negotiate raises, or assess whether you can afford to take a risk, like switching careers or starting something on the side. You end up making career decisions from a place of fear rather than information. You stay in the job you hate because you assume you can't afford to leave. When in reality, if you actually knew your numbers, you might discover you have more runway than you think. Or you might discover you have less, which is equally valuable, because it tells you exactly what income threshold you need to hit before making a move. Either way, the knowledge enables better decisions than the uncertainty does. There's a concept in behavioral economics called the fresh start effect. People are significantly more likely to pursue goals when they associate the attempt with a new beginning. A new year, a new month, a birthday, a Monday. Your brain treats these temporal landmarks as psychological reset points, separating your current self from your past self and making change feel more achievable. You can use this deliberately. Don't wait for January. Don't wait for the first of the month. Pick the next Monday and use it as your fresh start. Set up the accounts. Schedule the automatic transfers. Do the 90-day audit. The whole setup process takes about an hour, and the vast majority of that time is just logging into bank websites and clicking through transfer setup screens. After the initial setup, your ongoing involvement is minimal. Check your spending account balance a few times a week, the same way you check the weather. not with anxiety, just with casual awareness. Once a month, spend 20 minutes reviewing your statements to make sure the automatic system is calibrated correctly. Once a quarter, assess whether your allocations need adjusting based on changes in income, expenses, or goals. That's the entire maintenance burden. Less time than you spend scrolling social media on any given Tuesday. The people who are genuinely good with money don't think about money constantly. They built a system once, they maintain it lightly, and they spend their mental energy on other things. The goal isn't to become obsessed with personal finance. The goal is to make personal finance so automatic and so resolved that you barely have to think about it at all. The system handles the mechanics. You handle living your life. I want to leave you with something that changed how I think about all of this. Your financial situation is not a reflection of your character. It's a reflection of your systems. Smart people go broke because of bad systems. Average people build wealth because of good ones. The difference is never about intelligence or willpower, or some innate gift for numbers. It's about whether the infrastructure around your money is working for you or against you. Everything I've described here is about building that infrastructure, not willpower, not discipline, not restriction, just pipes that move. Water where it needs to go, set up once and adjusted occasionally. That's the whole secret. It was never about trying harder. It was about building better. If this approach made sense to you, I created a deeper breakdown. That covers the full picture of how money actually works, beyond just managing your monthly cash flow. How to think about investing, how compound growth transforms small, consistent amounts into serious wealth over time, how to protect what you've built. That video gives you the complete framework for turning financial stability into actual financial progress. Because getting control of your spending is the foundation, but what you build on that foundation is where life starts to change. You don't need to overhaul your entire financial life this week. You just need to do one thing. Open a second checking account, set up one automatic transfer, and find out what your life actually costs. That's the beginning. Everything else follows from there. The system does the work. You just have to start it.